Hi guys, so this is my last Vitex update, at least for a while. I'm officially done taking the Vitex. I started taking it about a year ago, actually just really exactly a year, I guess you could say. I began taking it in about October of 2016 and now it's October of 2017. I did have a break in between because when I initially started the Vitex, about 4 to 6 weeks into it, I started to have some psychological adversities, basically a lot of depressive symptoms that I was not okay with, particularly having a depressive background. So I basically weaned myself off of it that first time for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then I got back on it with a lower dose and a different brand. And, so far everything was okay. For some people, they say that, when they start taking Vitex, they don't see a difference until like 3 to 6 months along the way. That was not the case for me. I saw I saw results immediately. My period came quicker the very first cycle. All of my PMS symptoms basically dissipated the very first cycle. So for me, Vitex worked really, really quickly. And it was the same difference when I started taking it again. So my average cycle would be about 42 days. So I would roughly have a menstrual cycle every 4 to 6 weeks, as long as life was just floating along and I didn't have any additional stressors or anything like that. So with that being said, my hormones weren't necessarily very out of whack. If you have PCOS or something like that, which I do not have PCOS, I was never diagnosed with that. Again, on average, I could have a period every 4 to 6 weeks. So that wasn't the case for me. I picked up the Vitex because I wanted to use it to see if it would help me try to conceive. It had a lot of good reviews in the trying to conceive community, and I was like, okay, if it regulates my cycle to the average 28-day cycle, then that would be okay. And it did. It took my cycle from an average of 42 days to an average of, I think, 32 days. Pretty much immediately, my cycle just titrated down from 42 days being my average to 38-day average to 36-day average to 32-day average to 28-day average. And then so on and so forth, and all the way down to 19-day average. So if you see where I'm going with that, my cycles got shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And I also began to experience breakthrough bleeding. And breakthrough bleeding is a spotting when you are in between your periods. And if you're trying to conceive, what is the first thing that you think about whenever you see spotting or anything like that, or any random discharge that just happens with the phenomenal woman's body? You think that, okay, this could be implantation bleeding. Oh my God. After about the third time that it happened to me, I knew immediately that it was the Vitex. It was causing my periods to, I don't know, it would seem like it was almost making my body have a continuous period. It never really began and it never really ended. My periods, they would come on as this light spotting. My bleeding never really got heavy anymore, which could be a good thing for some of you out there. If you have really heavy periods and you're taking Vitex to just regulate up all of those different adverse symptoms, then it could still be great for you, because my bleeding was very, very light. However, instead of my average period of kind of medium to heavy to light flow, it kind of had a little roller coaster thing about it, but it was getting it all out. But I had a lot of blood clots. Now with the Vitex, I did not have a lot of blood clots. My flow was a lot lighter, but it was longer. On average, without Vitex, my periods would be 3 to 5 days, but with the Vitex, it was like 5 to 7. So 5 to 7 days of light bleeding, and it would just linger on. And then I would get off of my period, so to speak, and about 3 or 5 days later, I would be spotting again, and I would spot for like 3 days. And I was like, oh my God. And then a week later, I would be on my period again. And I remember my husband just saying one day, weren't you just on your period 2 weeks ago? And I was like, yes, I was. I was so frustrated, you guys, but I knew it was the Vitex. And my husband and I both kind of said the same thing. Well, maybe it'll stop. Maybe it'll just regulate itself out after this. Maybe this is just temporary. it was not temporary. That continued on for a few cycles. And I just did not want to do it anymore. I'm okay with having an average of 4 to 6 week, for my cycles. That's fine with me because no woman's body is the same. No one or two women's bodies going to be exactly the same. You don't have to have a 28-day cycle. You can have a 32 or a 40-day cycle. That's perfectly okay. And I've even gotten that information from my OBGYN. And I would also suggest you just running it by yours to double check anything that you see or that you read online. But just take into account that it's all trial and error. And it's not going to work the same for every single person. Again, if you have PCOS or your periods only come like 2 or 3 times a year, Vitex could very well be your magic pill that's going to help your body get on track and do what it needs to do. However, my body isn't necessarily completely out of whack in that way. And I did not want to chance suppressing my body's natural hormone system that it has going on its own. So with that being said, and with the period coming every 2 weeks and the loss of appetite, I just said it's not worth it for me anymore. I'm going to leave the Vitex alone. Would I ever try it again? Yes. If my period, for whatever reason, if I get to premenopausal age, which Vitex is great for menopause, but menopause is your hormones are doing all these crazy things because of the changes that are going on in your body. But with that being said, yes, I would. If I got to a situation like that and my period had just disappeared and I knew that my hormones were just completely wacko, yes, I would absolutely pick Vitex up because it does work. But it does not work the same for everybody. So just consider your body and your body's condition. Consider your hormones and the balance of your hormones on a natural weekly basis or daily basis that it does. Take all of those things into but take all of that into consideration and just proceed with caution. There was not any other adversities that I saw. Again, the very, very first cycle with Vitex, immediate results, but I also had all those depressive type symptoms. This time around, I decreased my dose, but my period was just, I felt like I was always on my period, which essentially I was. I only went 2 weeks without bleeding, and really not that because I was spotting. So if you experience anything like that, maybe Vitex is not for you in that way. Maybe your body doesn't need something like that in that moment in time. But I do also feel like if I had found a 100 milligram dose or 200 milligram dose, then my body would have done, different or maybe better with the Vitex. But that's neither here nor there. I don't feel like spending any more of my money on that, not at this time at least. But what I did put into my diet was turmeric and also CoQ10, and in the Trying to Conceive community, CoQ10 is also looked for in the ubiquitol form. I didn't get that quite yet because I'm not there quite yet, and I'm fine with taking the CoQ10 for now, along with the turmeric and seeing just what it does. And neither of those are just there to manipulate the hormones. Turmeric has hormonal balancing processes, but it's mostly for overall wellness, cardiovascular, immune health, all that great stuff. And the same thing for CoQ10. It's also for energy and muscle strength and all that, which I need all of the above. But that is it, you guys. Sorry if I rambled and stumbled over myself a little bit. I still have a lot going on. But thank y'all for watching, and I really do hope that this helps somebody. Again, just pay attention to your body and know when is it enough, or when do you need a little bit more, or when to just stop altogether or switch to something else. And always, if you have a herbalist, definitely reach out to them, or if you know someone that knows a naturopath or you have your own, reach out to them, or of course reach out to your OB, or sometimes just trial and error like the rest of us. But anyways, you guys, happy winter, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Bye, guys.